And back in 2019, well, I'm sorry that it kind of clicked ahead, but the pictures aren't there, but so of course, we've had a 4-year-old classroom at Johnson Park and Riverside since forever. And that's what even made us eligible to become a preschool expansion district. And we're excited that we're opening up a classroom at Community Park, and it will be a dual language immersion classroom. These are actually really hard to find in the state. There's only a couple of other districts that have a dual language preschool program. And I'm really excited about opening up that program in the fall. And we are fully enrolled with a wait list. We also offer preschool through private providers, which it's called a mixed delivery system, but it's a wonderful way to work with our community partners, but also expand in a very tight space situation like we're experiencing in Princeton Public Schools. So our very first partner was the Burke Foundation Early Childhood Center at the YWCA. We started with 1 classroom there. Now we're up to 3, 2 for 3-year-olds and 1 for 4-year-olds. And we started a partnership 2 years ago, a 3-way partnership with the Princeton Community Village, the Princeton YMCA, and us to create a classroom right at the Princeton Community Village in the Marcy T. Crimmins Learning Center. So we're going into our 3rd year in that place. And then we're bringing on a new partner in the fall, which we're very excited about. It's called the Princeton Community Family Learning Center, or the Cub School for short. It is housed within the All Saints Church on All Saints Road in the Littlebrook neighborhood. And we're really excited to be opening a 3-year-old room and a 4-year-old room with this new community partner in the Littlebrook area. We haven't had any preschools that were in that neighborhood. So now we have a neighborhood preschool for them. Okay. So now I'm going to pass it on to Dr. Nashko, who's going to show you a little bit about some of the amazing data that we have achieved over the course of this last year.
Thanks, Val. So at the program that is run by the state has lots and lots of data points that we can gather from the classrooms. I'm going to talk about 2 of them tonight. One is this ECHRS. It's ECHRS 3. It stands for Early Childhood Environment Rating Scale, and it's the 3rd edition. And that is really looking at the domains that are up there, but it's looking at the classroom structure. So the environment of the classrooms, but also the interactions that happen in the classroom. So it's looking at teacher practice, teacher engagement, the materials, the structure, the way things are put together. And I conduct those ECHRS to kind of get an internal sense in all of the classrooms every year. But NIER, which is the National Institute for Early Childhood Education Research, comes in and does a state-run ECHRS every year. So they did in 5 of our 6 existing classrooms this year. They kind of pick random ones. So I'm going to share some data about that. And then as the presentation goes, I'm also going to share some data that we can pull reports on the program from our child data. So it's our assessment that we use called Teaching Strategies Gold, that the teachers put in observational data into this system, and it shows on developmental color bands, which I'll get into in a second, where each child falls. So are they meeting expectations for their age? Are they exceeding, or are they progressing towards those expectations? So I'm going to highlight both of those data points today. So for ECHRS, those are the domains. There's 35 items. Each item is scored between a 1 and a 7. We don't want to be near the 1s. 1 is kind of considered inadequate, and then 7 is excellent. So kind of the shooting target point is a 5, because that's called good in the system. But it's also kind of the target point for the state. So they say like a 4.5 to a 5 is what the state is looking at as being a high quality, good preschool system. So if you click it one more time, when NIER came out, the state came out to do at 5 of our 6 classrooms, our mean score was a 4.5. So I'm going to highlight some of the great things that Valerie and I talked about, but I'm also going to highlight some of the areas that we can improve that score, right? We want to be even more than just the minimum 4 or 5 score. So some of our highlighted strengths, these are the item numbers that came up, and not getting into specifics, but you can kind of tell from the item description, the health practices. So after a pandemic, COVID, we're really excited that that was one of our strengths. But hand washing, table washing, they actually have really strict guidance around this, how it has to be taken care of. So our teachers are doing a great job, teachers and assistants in the classroom. And then encouraging children to use language. So that is high quality, open-ended questions, really getting them to, elicit responses that are more than just a yes, no answer, or, what color is this? What shape is this? We did obviously 6.2, almost hitting our max goal of 7. Encouraging children's use of books. So obviously that's, getting them into reading and accessing them and supporting that love of learning through books. Individualized teaching and learning is really structured around having the classrooms are structured with the time, and you'll see in a second, of having uninterrupted blocks of time for play. So the individualized teaching and learning isn't just pooling individual students one-on-one, but really the teacher going in and knowing how to support individual goals of students as they're playing. So in a developmentally appropriate way, and look at that score. So we're doing a great job there. Staff-child interactions, so really positive, warm interactions. And I know that that's on the strategic plan too. We've been talking about that, of having a safe place and having like a really warm adult-child interactions. So we're doing wonderful. And then in all of our discipline policies, so using really positive behavior supports in the classroom. So those are all of our highlighted strengths, and I think we're doing a great job. So some of the things that we can focus on as areas that we're going to continue to see discussions around. There's an item called meals and snacks. It's item 8. And I actually have my book right there if you want the exact verbiage, but like a 1 is that there's an inadequate nutritional value to the meals and snacks that are being provided. And we did get 1s and 2s in some of our areas. So our score was actually really low. When we dug into this, it was looking at what the guidelines are from the state of saying that all children need to have, I forget exactly what it is, if you remember any of the, but a milk, they have to be offered the milk, the fruit, a vegetable, a protein, and they have to have it all in front of them at one time being offered at, I think some of the questions around why we scored lower have to get figured out. So I don't know if you want to add anything now to that discussion that we've had, but figuring out, how do we guarantee that that's happening in our provider sites? How do we guarantee that those things are being, because they have to be offered even if it's supplemented to home lunches being brought in. So if a child opens up a snack when the state's in there and it's Doritos at 10 in the morning for snack, that there has to be some protocol around how do we supplement that and how do we address that. So I think there's still some questions around how do we get better scores in that item.
May I ask?
Sure.
Not to interrupt. Who is providing? Are those outside providers providing the? That's us providing that food.
Yes. And then the next one is around structured schedules. So like I alluded to, we have uninterrupted time in our day that's devoted to developmentally appropriate preschool instruction, which is through play. So the centers in the classroom provide rich materials, and the teachers are engaging in all of that discussion and teaching and instruction while the children are in that play. Eckers has a 1 hour limit, or a minimum of a 1 hour for that time. If you don't get that 1 hour, you're going to score lower on multiple items that are related to that. So they go through some of those items, talk specifically around the centers. So there's an item for block center, there's an item for art center, there's an item, and each one of those items, and I believe there's 12 of the 35 items that focus on this 1 hour of play. So if a teacher says it's cleanup time and it's 55 minutes, you will score in the low range of all of those. So really ensuring that the teachers understand that, and understand that not just to get a good score, but that they do that because that's the developmentally appropriate way to access learning for 3 and 4-year-olds. So to really structure their schedule to accommodate that. And then also in there is they have 30 minutes of gross motor. So there's 3 specific items concerning gross motor play in the playground. And the time for both of them, the time for the hour starts when the last child is playing, and it stops when the teacher says cleanup time. And the time for 30 minutes is when the child steps foot onto the playground and all children are playing, and then when it's time to go in. So I've coached a lot around these schedules because there's shared playground times, there's specials, there's lots of different things that impact a teacher's ability to do, to kind of adjust their schedule according to this. And we know that NEAR comes in that morning space. So really it's like 8:30 to 11:30, maybe 9 to 12. So in a 3-hour time block, you have to get that 1 full hour and 30 minutes. And then we know that some of those other factors are playing in the prep schedule and all of that. So I feel like I've been a big advocate for having our preschool teachers reserve specials and things like that for afternoon time so that the instructional time is their playtime and it is in the morning. And then math. I'm sorry, the third one there on the bottom, math. And I noted that this is a state area of focus as well, because everywhere, every meeting that I know Valerie has been in, any meeting I've been in, talking about across the state, the math scores are low on ECHRS. It really talks about the math materials. So what is accessible to children? They have stipulations of they have to be counting materials, they have to have a certain amount of things that cover shapes, a certain amount that things that cover like fractions and looking at taking things apart, and then the activities that are happening, and then also how math is embedded in daily events. So like at meals and snacks, can you count out how many plates are put out and how many napkins, and let's count how many we need, and what are we going to do? We only have this many things, we'll have to cut it in half, all of that embedded daily events. Lining up, we can count who's first, second, third. And then also just the ease of using math language within the daily. So we are going to be focusing on kind of looking at all of that the preschool day. Yes, so now shifting to the second piece of our data points that we regularly look at is this teaching strategies gold. And we can actually pull these things called snapshot reports. They run checkpoints. There's 3 checkpoints in a preschool day, and really they're likened to in the older kids like a semester or marking period. There's the word I was looking for. So marking periods, checkpoints. So we have a fall checkpoint, a winter checkpoint, and a spring checkpoint. And the spring one just ended. This is our first one in the fall. They're about 11 or 12 weeks. So this checkpoint happened in very early December, right after Thanksgiving. So you can see the blue, if you can make out from blue to purple, but the blue is below expectations. The purple is meeting expectations, and the green would be exceeding expectations. You see zeros in literacy and math because these snapshot reports do not get generated for anything that doesn't have 70% or more of the objectives being scored. And our teachers are still learning how to use gold. So the last 2 years, we have picked and chosen and just pulled certain objectives out of literacy and math for the fall report to kind of have them get their feet wet in using the system and learning the objectives. They start off, the fall is jam-packed with so many things and them getting to know their classrooms. So we don't have 70% of the objectives from literacy and math. So it's not like we're not looking at literacy and math. We are, but these snapshot reports don't show it. So you'll see we have some below, and where we see the biggest below expectations in the fall is social, emotional, and language. So there's chunks of children out there. So in a preschool day, you're thinking 3 and 4 year olds, social, emotional. The children that are below expectations don't know how to share. They don't know how to socially problem solve. They run into something. They run into a problem with a child, and they might be the one that just smacks the child over the head, right? Or screams or has a tantrum. They can't manage their feelings, right? So that's social emotional below expectations. In language, they're not using full sentences. So, there's different milestones for 3s and 4s. We're not expecting all 3s to be, the same as the 4s, but this is kind of looking at the whole program. So it's looking at all of them. We have children that aren't speaking yet, and that's due to possibly having English as a second language, but they're not talking in full sentences. They're not using conversational language, so they're not making eye contact. They're not waiting their turn to talk, so they're talking over people, right? That's all kind of the milestones from language. So that's where we were in the fall. This is where we were. We just pulled this report at the end. So as you can see, we've made lots of progress, and so many more of our children are actually exceeding expectations in all of this. So it says up there, 95% are either meeting or exceeding, which is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, we're really, really happy. And the best part of this is showing the teachers this, because sometimes the teachers have that feeling that things happened this year, but being able to see, and you can actually pull it for classrooms too. So I think Valerie and I like to share that data with the teachers and actually have some hard data to show, like, no, there's really big growth happening. So I think there's 1 or 2 more slides. Yes.
Just a question on that one. Is there work that we can do with the children who are not meeting expectations, whether it's over the summer or that can supplement the regular curriculum?
Or you can, I think my initial comment, and I'll let Valerie add to that, but our 4-year-olds can go to, the 4-year-olds that aren't meeting expectations can go to that summer program throughout the summer. And that's exactly the data that we look at to determine what students we want to. So I don't know if you can add in.
Yeah, and we have the opportunity to optionally reserve Title I funds for preschool. So my goal is to optionally reserve enough money so that our 3-year-olds can also have a summer program, so that both our 3s and our 4s will have an extended school year.
Can I have a quick question also? It's really fantastic data. Do we have a way now of starting to track and follow those kids to see how it's impacting our younger grades? I assume that's
Yeah, absolutely. So we are especially tracking kids who were below expectations. We're using Linkit Intervention Manager, which is an electronic system of tracking kids over time. So I can look at any time and see what additional interventions, things like AIS or something like summer program, that kind of thing, get instituted for those kids as they progress to kindergarten, to first grade, et cetera. So we can kind of keep track of what's happening to kids as they move along.
So looking at those children and looking at that data, one of the things that I think we've worked really hard this year is to have a lot of discussions of pre-K transition. And I think there's more needed around that, especially with pre-K growing and pre-K being new, that making sure kindergarten teachers know what that data means when they're meeting or exceeding expectations, and, lots of just discussions and conversations. So kindergarten teachers have a tool that they use before children enter into kindergarten to look at, and really looking at all of those things. So what do kindergarten teachers want? And it's really that they can identify letters, upper and lowercase, that they can isolate sounds, that they can identify letters or numbers up to 20, connect those numbers with a quantity, know their shapes, colors, and be able to write their own name. And really, we're looking at all of those skills when we're looking at the math, literacy, and some of the language skills that fall in there. So I think, yep. So this is just a snapshot to kind of get your eyes on what our assessment actually looks like and what the teachers in pre-K are looking at. So it's color bands, like I mentioned in the beginning. They each have objectives. So this is our one about knowledge of the alphabet, 16A, which is identifies and names letters. And you'll see all these color bands on the bottom. So our assessment actually shows the progression from birth to third grade. For this one specific, it shows from birth to kindergarten, because by the end of kindergarten, all children should know all of their letters, capital and lowercase, right? That's the end goal. So, they're not looking at that past the kindergarten year. But a lot of them go past this purple band. So I just kind of highlighted the green band is what 3-year-olds learn and should be able to know. The 4-year-olds are blue and kindergarten is purple. So when we're saying that they're below expectations, meeting expectations, or above exceeding expectations, we're really looking at these bands. And if they are meeting expectations, they're inside their color band. So they're meeting what a 3-year-old developmentally should look like. What we shoot for is right where that black arrow is. So for this, it's at level 5. It's where the 4-year-olds, meet the purple band. And that's what we're shooting for, to say our 4-year-olds should know what beginning kindergartners should know, where they kind of meet, right? It's developmentally appropriate for 4s, and it's also developmentally appropriate where 5s would be coming into kindergarten. So that's kind of our target for end of 4-year-old program. You'll also see that they kind of overlap, and that means that this is a developmental continuum. So we know that all children don't progress at the same level, and it's a skill that progresses over time. So you'll see really this skill is all 3s and 4s we're working on. So with the kindergarten tool that we did for our entering kindergarten 4-year-olds, so end of the year, we used what the kindergarten teachers wanted to see. And we found that, and it's really, really dark up there, but I think it says 83%. Am I right? So are in purple. So 83% of our 4-year-olds leaving are exceeding the expectations and meeting the kindergarten expectation already. And 17% are meeting that end of the year blue. So where that blue and purple band matched. So really 100% are ready with their letter knowledge. Oh, can you go back, Matt? I'm sorry. That little note on the bottom too. Really, it's an end of kindergarten. And I know this is all research based, but for some of you that might be, like, what do you mean by the end of kindergarten? They're supposed to be reading. They have to know all their letters. But if you look at a developmental continuum of research across everywhere, and even in our New Jersey kindergarten standards, it is an end of kindergarten expectation to know all of your capital and lowercase. And almost half of all of our end of 4-year-olds know every single uppercase letter at least. So, and then this is just one about math, just to give you another idea. And you see the color bands shift and change. It's because for each individual objective, there's different developmental continuums for that. So with math, it looks a little bit more like a staircase, and it's a little bit more staggered. So again, we're looking for where that blue and purple meet. And it's really that they can identify at least up to 10 and connect up to 10 with objects. And that's really where kindergarten progressively gets. If they're exceeding, they would know up to 20. They would know how to count, arrange, make objects, and also can write their numbers from 1 to 20. So I think I have another little chart, and I think that might be. So this is how our preschoolers are doing. And it's a little bit of the same, but the blue and purple have shifted. So we have a smaller number that's exceeding, that know all of those things, like up to 20. And I think it's a lot of the writing the numbers for 4-year-olds, that they're not quite meeting all of that. But we have a large number, 74%, that are solid in that blue band. That's it. Thank you so much for your attention. Any other questions?
Number one, Do you have, because now that you've expanded classrooms, do you have all the materials you need in all the classrooms to be able to provide all the skills that the state wants you to provide?
Yes, absolutely. So all of our new classrooms, the preschool expansion aid covered all startup costs. So we were fully furnishing them and placing all the materials in accordance with the Ecker scale. So all those classrooms will be ready to go. And then we're supplementing our existing classrooms, especially next year, aligned with the strategic plan for literacy and numeracy, the alphabet and understanding that, and also expanding the science interest centers in each classroom.
And have any of these students like gone through kindergarten, and have we started recording any data to know how these students are doing, or a smaller percent falling behind, even more importantly?
Yeah, so that's something we actually are looking at very critically, because we don't want our kids that have done so well in preschool then to metaphorically fall off over a cliff. And sometimes it feels that way for kids. So I've been kind of tracking them in a Google spreadsheet, but that's really been very difficult to manage. So I'm excited about having Linkit, because I can I could just look at all kindergarten kids for next year and how many have intervention plans, how many went into AIS, like that kind of thing, how many are in the summer program. And that really helps me track how the kids are doing.
I was kind of along the similar line. Are our kindergarten teachers noticing a difference? I mean, I had heard years ago some of my children's teachers saying, some years it's getting more and more difficult. The kids are less and less ready, or there's just differences over time. And I'm wondering if we've had any anecdotal feedback from the teachers of our K and 1 that they're seeing a difference in the readiness generally of the kids.
So it's difficult to judge. And the reason why is if you look at a typical kindergarten class, they may only have 4 or 5 students that were in our preschool. And so we provide each kindergarten teacher with a portfolio of our preschoolers' work with all their data, their and report card and all of that, so they know how the kids were doing. But when they think like, are these kids ready? I think they're thinking holistically. And it's interesting. So we started tracking when kids register for kindergarten. These are kids that did not attend our preschool. We are now asking, what preschool did you go to? Just so we can get a sense of where our kids are coming from. And just by tracking it just this year, it's starting to emerge that the next largest group that comes to us is from UNOW, which is at the university, and Princeton Montessori. So I immediately think we have to start developing a relationship with them, maybe even partnering with them if we can, but certainly articulating with them so that we have a better picture of how the kindergarten kids are doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we go to our next item on the superintendent's report, I wanted to just invite Dr. Tu and Ms. Gold to introduce those candidates that are on tonight's agenda for approval.
I guess I'll go first, Ms. Gold. So I have the pleasure to introduce Tiffany Brennan to the board. Tiffany, do you mind coming up to the podium? Thank you so much. So Tiffany has been recommended as our new supervisor of 612 math and business education. She faced a committee of myself. Mara was also as our board observer, 2 parents, 2 teachers, Mickey Cristofelli, our director of student services. Who else was there? I felt there was like 12 of us, probably. And the committee unanimously recommended Tiffany to Dr. Kelly. We were really impressed by her knowledge of math. She taught AP Stat, pre-calculus, calculus at high levels in West Windsor and Robbinsville. We were impressed by her knowledge of pedagogy and professional development. And ultimately, it kept coming back to relationships with community members, relationships with staff, and relationships with students. So that's why she wowed our committee. So I'm happy to have her come tonight, and she's going to say a few words.
Thank you so much for welcoming me to Princeton Public Schools. I'm so excited to be joining you and working with the teachers, the administration, and especially the students in Princeton. I'm wrapping up my 22nd year in education. I started as a middle school math teacher, and I worked my way up through high school. I've taught all the things from actually 5th grade math all the way up through AP statistics. But most recently, I've been, for the last 10 years, for 7 years, I was a middle school and high school math supervisor. And then in the last 3, my role's been expanded to include science and technology as well. So I'm excited to really get back into math more. I've kind of been spread a little thin with the science role as well. So my heart's really in math. And I've been in Mercer County for 19 years. So I have a lot of relationships with area supervisors of mathematics. And I'm excited to continue to be able to work with them. We have a serious responsibility as educators. The parents send us the best kids that they have. They're not keeping their best ones at home. They're sending the best ones they have to us. And that's a big responsibility. And I think they deserve the best from the educators and all of us, So I really want to communicate with parents, with you, with teachers, and really build relationships with parents and with our teachers. I know that parents can be very passionate about math, among other things, but it really deep down comes from a place of concern and well-being for their own kids. I know they're sending us their best. So thank you for welcoming me. I'm so excited to be joining you to help continue and expand the tradition of excellence here in Princeton. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I have the honor of introducing John McCain, who truly is a man who needs no introduction. 22 years in our middle school, and he teaches social studies, but he's so much more. Past union president, works with our communities, works with our parents, and most of all with our students. I'd like to say that McCain and the middle school are perfect together, and we're happy that he's going to be our new assistant principal. He will begin July 1st, and we're all looking forward. And I introduce you, and you need no introduction to him, John McCain.
And I just wanted to say thank you so much for this opportunity. I feel like I grew up in Princeton, came here to the university in 1996 as an undergrad student. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college, and being in a town and that academic prowess was certainly overwhelming, and couldn't believe that I'd be here 27 years later teaching in the schools. And I felt so much love and support throughout my time at Princeton Public Schools. At one point, I went back to law school at nights, got my law degree. The district supported me as I took a leave to study international law in Japan, came back, and part of what kept me here was the support and the love that I have. And I really feel like I have more to offer education. So many of you on the board, I had a great partnership when leading PREA. And now I'm looking for a new challenge, and certainly put those years of experience in the relationships that I've built over the years. And I've learned so much from great leaders throughout my time here, and so much from my colleagues as well, and so much from, the community. It's amazing to be a part of a community that supports and is so passionate about public education. So I'm thrilled to be going into this new role. Can't wait for the opportunity. And I want to thank all of you for your constant support over the years and partnership for to benefit our students. And I really want to impart that same drive and wisdom in this new role and make it the best place. It already is, but we can make it better. So thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Okay, I see this as part of the consent agenda. Can we make it an action item now so that these fine educators can go home, get ready for tomorrow?
If you insist, the consent agenda means it's going to pass because nobody has said it's not going to pass.
Well, they're here though. They're waiting to leave.
They can leave.
So
On
anyway,
the consent agenda, it can't fail.
great. Thank you. Can I get a motion to make an action item, please? Brian, second. Jean, is there any public comment on these two appointments only? No. Okay. Can we please have a vote?
Daphne Kendall,
Yes.
Betsy Bagwell,
Yes.
Beth Baron,
Yes.
Jean Durbin,
Yes.
Mara Franceschi,
Yes.
Susan Cantor,
Yes.
Brian McDonald,
Yes.
Michelle Tuck Ponder,
She had to run. Yeah.
Robert Christopher.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Congratulations.
I have just one final thing for the superintendent's report. Similar to Board President Kendall, I too want to thank all of our staff, our administrators, our bus drivers, our teachers, everyone for a phenomenal school year. We wanted to curate everything, all the highlights from the staff. So we put out a call and they did answer, and we put together this video, and we would like to show the video now. Cross your fingers that it will work.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. All right, now we are going to, Rohan, did you drive safely here? You didn't break any laws?
No.
Okay.
I just got off work. And it's totally.
It's okay. It's all right. We just want to make sure you drive carefully. We'll wait. All right, so now we're going to go back, and Mr. Bolden moved it, but so every year, Princeton High School students vote into board members to sit with us over the year. I don't know if it's a punishment or an accolade, but we've really enjoyed getting to know both of you this year. And so Princeton Public Schools recognizes Andre Penn, whereas Andre is leaving the Board of Education due to graduation. And whereas Andre Penn has fulfilled a year of service, be it therefore resolved that the Board of Education recognize the contributions that Andre Penn has made to the district and its students. We thank you for your time and effort, and we wish you every success in your future endeavors.
And also, the Princeton Public Schools recognizes Rohan Shivate, whereas Rohan is leaving the Board of Education due to graduation, and whereas Rohan has fulfilled a year of service, be it therefore resolved that the Board of Education recognize the contributions that Rohan Shivate has made to the district and its students. Thank him for his time and effort and wish him every success in your future endeavors.
So we just wanted to thank you, and I'm going to open up in a minute to the rest of the board, but the contributions you've made, especially with regard to mental health and your advocacy for the students in the building is admirable, and we really appreciate all your efforts. And as you see, you learned how to get something through this thick red tape that I haven't learned how, so maybe I can learn something from you. But thank you very much. We really appreciate your effort on behalf of all kids, and we wish you all the best.
And can I just add, we're just so proud of you and what you have achieved and accomplished. You can be a board member in your life someday if you choose to. We need people like you doing this work, serving their community. You might want to take a little time to, extend your studies, but your communities would be quite grateful to have you working on behalf of the students. So thank you very much for what you've done.
May I? So I've known Andre since he was a little kid,
And I apologize in advance for every single time I've embarrassed you, Andre. I do. It is a joy and a pleasure to watch you grow into the fine young man that you are. Your parents are super proud. Your siblings are super proud, and you've done a great service to this community. So thank you, and I am very proud of you. Rohan, you're going to Northwestern, which by definition means you are a stellar human being. You're going to love being a Wildcat. Congratulations. It's been a pleasure to know you and watch you play ball. And so good luck. And if you need anything in Evanston, you know who to call.
I would just like to say, as co-chair of the operations committee, that very rarely do students really influence what we do, but the things that you've advocated for this year are things that are being very seriously considered for the upcoming referendum in November. And so you can really look back with pride to know that you not only made a difference in our students' mental health, but that there'll be tangible changes to the school that you're going to leave behind as well. So we thank you for that.
Mr. Christopher?
So number one, the initiative to onboard new board members, student board members, I think it was genius. I think it was brilliant. It's probably 20, 30 years too late. So that's going to be a legacy for sure for your replacements and way into the future. And Rohan taking over Dad's spot. I mean, it's going to be open someday. Just be careful.
All right, well, thank you. And with that, we will turn it over to you guys for your final student board member report. And then can you let us know what's happening with your successors, please?
Yeah, so in terms of the new liaisons, I think they decided to move the elections to September for all the student body positions, I guess, so the new freshmen could vote, which is, it's okay, I guess. But so we won't get to meet the new liaisons, at least like in person, but we'll definitely like at least like reach out to them, let you guys know once they are elected in September, make sure the transition is as smooth as possible. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, and yeah, also, I guess like I just want to say like I've really enjoyed working with the board this year, and I like learned so much about like local government and about like how a board works and how a school district works, and it definitely was like very educational and very rewarding. And I think like I'm just like very happy that we were able to do our best to represent the students, and also to do our best to accomplish something in just this year. And so I'm really grateful that everyone on the board was so open to working with us and helping us along. And I'm just like, thank you so much to everyone for making this such a good experience.
I guess I'll echo what Andre said, but this year really just flew by so quick. It felt like just yesterday we were, it was June and we were like sitting in the Zoom meeting, and we were so nervous, just like, what is it gonna really entail? But I really just enjoyed every single moment of being on the with the board, and it really like instilled in me a greater confidence to like speak my voice and to like have confidence in our like public systems, that change can happen when you like really put your mind to it. Like I thank you guys for like really listening to us, and like even though we are like children or like in the high school, still like but like at least giving like weight to our words, and really hearing what we have to say. It really means a lot. Yeah, and just like just like the intangibles of like citizenship, community service, hard work, perseverance, all of those were you guys really developed in me through this experience. I can't say how much I appreciate that. So yeah, thank you so much, and we'll definitely visit, or yeah, and help with the new liaisons as well.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to the first public comment on agenda items and non-agenda items. If you would like to come to the podium, you have 3 minutes. Please be respectful. And that's it. No one wants to come now? Yes, I know, but you said you wanted to go second. Okay. Yes, yes, yeah.
Jessica Vieira, 86 Stockton Street. I come to you as a parent, not a PTO president. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present to you this evening. And as always, I thank you all for your service to our community. In light of today's 8th grade promotion ceremony and the end of what I would consider a tumultuous year, I'd like to thank all the admin staff and teachers for their unwavering support and leadership. I'd also like to thank the parent volunteers and the PTO and the PTOC leadership who work tirelessly and unbiased and serve as constant filters for the community to the board. These are not easy times. As a parent active in the middle school, I'd like to publicly thank Jason Burr for his fearless and unwavering leadership. We need to thank his professional team of educators who led our middle school students through uncharted waters in a post-pandemic era. Our 8th grade students have emerged resilient and eager for all that awaits them at the high school, and thanks to his and their guidance. As a parent who has worked closely with John McCann, I'd like to lend a vote in support of his appointment as assistant principal at PMS. He has stepped up this year, as he has in many others, beyond just his classroom, but also in leading the 8th grade as an advisor. He's ready to lead, and he's up to his new challenge. I'd also like to publicly thank the private companies and parents who supported the PTO this year. Parents like Allison Kavuchian, Ming Kwang, Kelly Liao, and Varsha Shukla, who put the general population of students above their own children. We need to thank companies like Callaway Henderson, Hamilton Dental, Princeton Nassau Pediatrics, Honda of Princeton, and Solopot, who donated to our cause to ensure that every child could attend our field trip at Hamilton and Hershey. We're graced in our community with many businesses who help support our schools day in and out. Public education and students are very important to them. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Rita's Ice, Nomad Pizza, Homestead Princeton, and lastly, the Ivy Inn, who, if you haven't been to the Ivy this month and this past spring, has supported every nonprofit, including our own. And Rich is amazing. All of these businesses helped our PTO in a very, very significant way financially this year. More importantly, they helped us rebuild community that had fallen by the wayside during the pandemic. I hope you all will frequent their establishments in return for the support of our children. Lastly, to those parents and general public who find themselves dissatisfied or uncompelled, I encourage you to find a broom and start to sweep. Get involved in whatever capacity you can. Don't just complain. Do. There is always so much work to do. I've been honored to have the opportunity to serve, and I look forward to walking alongside of you as we work to ensure that our children live their best lives. Thanks again.
Thank you, Jessica. And I would just like to thank you again publicly for all you did this year for the 8th graders, especially for all the kids, but especially the 8th graders with a new trip. It's hard to start new things. And so a new trip to Hamilton, where 302 8th graders went to New York City, which is a little mind blowing, but anyway, great job. And they came back and they went on the Staten Island ferry, and you had a 3-hour walking tour of the city, and you had 5 pizzas ready. Each of you and your colleagues had 5 pizzas ready so the kids weren't hungry on the bus ride home. And I don't even want to know what the cleaning bill was for the bus, but I don't think we had to pay for that. So thank you. You made a difference in those kids' lives this year. So thanks for all you did. Okay, is there anyone else for public comment? No. Okay. Oh, sure. Oh, and I'm sorry, please state your name.
Yeah, my name is Sarah Shaman, and I'm on Erdman Avenue. I just want to thank you for many good things that have happened this year, particularly the support of these two young people and the man who is getting a job. I also want to see the same kind of support for people like Principal Schmiel. I feel he has done a wonderful job. I thank you for those of you who are willing to truth seek. I think our township has to do something about this. It would be one thing if, like, I were a plumber and I hired somebody and I didn't like the job they were doing or they didn't like working for me. But in this case, the inequity that Mr. Schmiel was treated, it can't easily be forgotten. For one thing, it seemed unequitable and oppressive to him, so therefore to many parents, and so therefore to many students. I feel that he did lots of things to not create financial burden for the town and the taxpayers' money, extra lawyers, extra suing and stuff like that. And I feel like the Donaldson hearing, the point of it was to kind of do a little bit of truth seeking and see whether or not there was a vote of no confidence for him and so forth. But I didn't see that happening. I was disappointed. And, you know, hey, you guys can be disappointed with me. I'm sure we can all do things like that. But the way that somebody said, you know, it doesn't become an error until it's not rectified. So I feel that the board, the superintendent, still has to rectify this situation. If it has to be the town, that would be one thing, but it's a very difficult situation and it feels inequitable, it feels oppressive, and it feels suppressive. So thank you again for those of you who do hear and do sympathize with what some of the town has been going through. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment right now? No? Okay, so we are moving on now to, okay, item I, harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Is that an action item? It is.
Yes, it is.
Can I get a motion, please? Brian, second. Rob?
Daphne Kendall,
Yes.
Betsy Bagwell,
Yes.
Beth Baron,
Yes.
Jean Durbin,
Abstain?
Mara Franceschi,
Yes.
Susan Cantor,
Yes.
Brian McDonald,
Yes.
Michelle Tuck Ponder,
Yes.
Rob Christopher.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. So now we're going to go through J, board business. Please stop me if there's anything you want to say. Bid and quote threshold. J1, bid and quote threshold authorization. J2 is an action item. Can I get a motion, please? Brian, second. Susan?
Daphne Kendall,
Abstain?
Betsy Bagwell,
Yes.
Beth Baron,
Yes.
Jean Durbin,
Yes.
Mara Franceschi,
Yes.
Susan Cantor,
Yes.
Brian McDonald,
Yes.
Michelle Tuck Ponder,
Yes.
Rob Christopher.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. Item J3, authorization to pay bills. J4, hiring in between board meetings. J5, transfer of current year surplus to reserve. J6, annual statement of assurance, completion of school security drills. J7, annual chapter 47 resolution. J8, annual youth advisory committee report to the board. J9, Omni Group third-party administrator retirement plans. J10, send and receive agreement with Cranberry. J11, formal bids, contract renewals. J12, annual integrated pest management notice. J13, authorization to make transfers. J14, statement of assurance lead testing program. J15, appointment of other district officials. J16, appointment of treasurer of school monies. J17, petty cash. J18, authorization to procure goods and services through state contracts and consortiums. J19, solicitation of bids. J20, NJSIAA membership. J21, designation of depositories. J22, designation of depositories for student activity funds. Moving on to K1, board committee highlights, and we will start with long-term planning. Beth Baron and Brian McDonald, co-chairs.
Yeah, the Long-Term Planning Committee met in closed session on June 12th. Our next meeting is on June 29th, and again in closed session. And what we are working on now internally is developing a rubric and criteria for ranking various models for the elementary planning process. We're working on getting more defined timeline for what's next. And we are working with SLAM planners, our administration, the internal administrative team, and we're working through all of the, we certainly had a lot of feedback from the community, and we're thinking about next steps, and we want to prepare for what we'd bring next back to the board and the community. And again, next meeting is June 29th, again closed. But there will be opportunities later in the summer for comment and for information.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, moving on to operations, co-chairs Susan Cantor and Brian McDonald.
Hi, I'm going to present for Brian and I. Brian will add in if I leave anything out. Once again, our meetings begin always as open meetings, and we welcome the public to join. Our last meeting was May 31st, starting at 8 a.m. on Zoom. We began our meeting with getting updates on our projects that will be taking place this summer, which include siding and fascia replacement, the slate roof rehabilitation, and masonry work to be done at the high school. And we discussed an upcoming bid that will go out in August for work to be done next summer. As we do every meeting, we discuss sustainability and the district's progress toward becoming more sustainable. Jenny Ludmer, once again of Sustainable Princeton, made a presentation on projects that she's been working with the district on. Some of the highlights included how energy at CP seems to, our costs seem to have been lowered and our usage lowered with our new roofs. We talked about looking at the middle school because there has been some rising in energy costs there and trying to figure out why that is. And then once again, we're looking at having more schools be certified as green. So we then held public comment, had a little discussion in terms of our work that's been done at the high school. Our next meeting will be July 12th at 8 a.m. And once again, I welcome the public to join. They're very informative and give you time to ask any questions that you have to the district. So please join us.
Thank you, Susan. Next up is personnel with co-chair Mara Franceschi.
Hi, personnel met on Thursday, June 1st, 8:15 and closed. Our meetings by necessity are always meeting closed. The meeting began with a residency hearing and went on to discuss various open positions and leave replacements. And additionally, we discussed a summer schedule for the high school counselors. Counselors will be available at the high school Monday through Thursday during the summer with Fridays off. The next meeting of the Personnel Committee will be Thursday morning, July 16th, and again, it will be closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mara. Next up is policy with co-chairs Beth Barron and Jean Durbin.
Thanks. Policy met on Monday, June 5th. It was a date change, 8:15 in the morning. The policy's up for second read tonight. We're in the Strauss Estimate Update 230. We did have a question about policy 9140 concerning community advisory committees, and we did make a change to the language. So what's up for second read is actually reflecting a language change. Instead of the board and the superintendent being members of the community advisory committee, they will be liaisons to the community advisory committee. So thank you for that suggestion. We also reviewed policy 2460 regarding special education and whether the district is able to clarify that for how and when we would accept electronic mail from parents with children with IEPs. We do think that policy itself is very narrowly focused towards when you make a request for an evaluation and not just a regular email request to a teacher about your child. But we are looking into whether we can clarify that as a board. Let's see. Our next meeting is on, July 14th, 8:15 a.m. Our meetings are open to the public. Did I leave anything out, Ms. Barron? Okay, thanks.
So can I ask a question? So you said an email to a teacher isn't going to be enough to, could you just go over that?
Sure. For that policy, I think an email to a teacher is acceptable. It's
Okay.
when you're making a formal request for your child to be evaluated or have a.
And an email is not going to be acceptable?
Normally, what this policy says is it is not,
Mhm.
but what our practice has been is that we take the email and treat it as if it's paper. But I think the concern, practically speaking, is drowning in emails and making sure that we actually, if there's legal notice involved, you want to have a piece of paper handed to you that someone signs for. You know, you want to have a process and not just have it get in a flurry of email. That was the thinking. But we're still noodling it. So
it's not on for approval?
No.
Okay.
It's
Well, I
just
just
what we
want to say,
discussed.
so, I mean, email is the way the world works. And when I had to have my own child classified, I sent an email to the teacher. The email is recognized as a legal document, and I wouldn't want to create any impediment for parents. It's already hard enough for parents when their children are struggling in school. Let's not add obstacles. So I appreciate your looking into that.
Thanks.
Yep. Anyone else? Nope. All right. Now moving on to Betsy Baglio and student achievement. Okay.
And I co-chair this with Michelle Tuck Ponder.
Oh.
We met on June 6th at 11:30 on Zoom. We heard from Christian Gonzalez and Doug Lewandowski from the PHS Peer Group Program, who shared some really exciting ways that they'd like to improve the program and engage freshmen even more than they are, and also provide feedback to the seniors who are doing these co-taught outreach opportunities. So we thank them for coming, and it was really interesting to hear sort of how they're thinking about this program. We had a food service update with members of the community who were interested in providing some feedback regarding going out for bid to a new food service company for the 24-25 school year. We heard concerns regarding quality of food and the amount of time students have to eat. So we thank them for engaging, and we look forward to more conversations. Priscilla Russell came to discuss a November trip to Italy that appears on our agenda this evening. A nurse has been secured for the trip, and we discussed the cost of the trip. And also Kim too shared a request to purchase updated textbooks for calculus and AP Calculus A, B, B, C. They will replace books that are over 10 years old, and that's also on this month's agenda. There was no public comment, and we meet in the summer. Please join us if you'd like something to do. July 14th at 11:30, we will be meeting on Zoom. Thanks.
3 hours.
Not anymore.
2.5 hours. Yeah. I'm not judging. Just saying it's a long afternoon. Bring lunch. All right. So now we're moving on the agenda. We have L1, second reading, policies, and then we're moving on to personnel. M1, resignation, stop me anytime. M2, retirements. M3, appointments. M4, transfer reassignments. M5 is personnel items. M6, substitute student placements. 7, leave of absence. M8, central administrator contracts, 23-24. M9, curriculum instruction. M10, comprehensive equity plan. Yes.
I was hoping we could get an explanation as to
I was
what
just
that
going
is.
to ask for that. Thank you. So that is, we are appointing, I guess by law, we have to have an affirmative action officer. And so we're appointing Rebecca Gold as the primary and Rashawn Johnson as the secondary for the 23-24 school year. And so we're authorizing the team to conduct the needs assessment, develop a comprehensive equity plan. If you could go into that a little bit. What is that? And is that?
Needs assessment. The needs assessment takes a look at 4 main areas: board responsibilities, staff development, school and classroom practices, and employment and contract practices. Goes through those and finds out if we're doing what we should be by policy, by regulation. Finds out what areas may need attention.
Thank you, Ms. Gold. And Jean, I'd just like to say that this is required by NJC 6A:7.1.7, Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Section 504. the U.S. Supreme Court 1982 Plyer versus Doe, and NJAC 6A:15-1.7,
Law.
and Castaneda versus Pickard.
I get it. I have a question about the
It wasn't
red
just for you.
items. I so appreciate you. You have no idea.
Mhm.
I have questions about the items in red and highlighted in yellow. I wasn't sure why
Yes.
that was.
We went through this very, very carefully in many different layers. So as we did, we found that we checked for a number of things. If we didn't find something in the right place, we highlighted it in that color. At this point, because of the deadline, we
Okay.
turned it in like that to you.
Gotcha.
It gets turned into the county at the end of the month on the 30th, and all of those items will be addressed.
Okay.
Meaning that we've already on the final copy gone through, we found what we needed, turned it back to the color of black. But while we were going through it, it was so comprehensive as comprehensive equity plan. It was huge, and we went through so many different layers. It was easier to color code as we went along.
Yep.
It also gave you an idea of what areas they were looking for that we really had to tweak and look for.
Yep.
Find it, go back to the committees, make sure things were changed, the board agendas, etc.
Okay.
So that was for us. The final copy is all in black.
Great. I appreciate it. Thank
That's
you.
okay.
Thanks.
Okay. M11 is the job description for the preschool instructional coach, intervention and referral specialist. M12, student services. Okay. M13, athletic appointments. M14, superintendent annual performance report. Moving on now to curriculum and instruction. N1, educational subscription
That's
and
an action
services. No,
item.
there isn't. N1, educational subscription and services. N2, annual field trip approval. Yep. N3, I didn't get there. Which one do you want to?
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Can make that an action item. So can I get a motion for N2, annual field trip approval? Anybody? Rob, second. Betsy? We'll give you a minute, sorry.
Daphne Kendall,
Yes.
Betsy Baglia,
Yes.
Beth Barron.
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld. Jean Durbin.
Yes.
Mara Franceschi.
Yes.
Susan Cantor.
Yes.
Brian McDonald.
Yes.
Michelle Tuck Ponder.
I'm going to abstain because there are a number of these trips on this list that have a significant cost that's not listed, a cost to parents. And I think we should be transparent about that. So I'm going to, but I don't want to vote against all the trips that are free. But I just want to raise the flag again about the hidden cost to parents on these school field trips.
So we need a line item abstention.
You need a line item.
You know, like a line item veto?
Oh, we don't have.
You're right.
I know.
And it should just be mine. Sorry. I abstained, Mr. Bolden.
Mr. Bolden, I'll vote yes.
Rob Christopher.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We're going to give you a minute
I'm good.
for M3.
The other one's action.
Oh, it is? Okay. Great. Can I get a motion? M3, Beth? Yes or no? Oh, second, Mara.
Daphne Kendall.
Yes.
Betsy Baglia.
Yes.
Beth Barron.
Yes.
Jean Durbin.
Yes.
Mara Franceschi.
Yes.
Susan Cantor.
Yes.
Brian McDonald.
Yes.
Michelle Tuck Ponder.
No.
Rob Christopher.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And 4, textbook approval, and 5, purchase of materials, and 6, Lexia Core 5 reading. Then we're moving on to student services. 01, educational placement of students, 22-23. 02, educational placement of pupils. Oh, that's interesting. 23-24. Professional consulting services, 22-23 revised. Professional consulting services, 23-24. Frontline technology, IEP direct. Wilson reading and language services. Healthcare associates, physical therapy and occupational therapy, and 08 Professional Services School Physicians 2324. And we are extremely grateful to our school physician, Dr. Helmrich of Princeton Nassau Pediatrics. He is always available to take our calls, and we had a new thing this past week with air quality, and he worked very closely with our administration to make sure that activities were done while keeping kids safe. Okay, moving on. P1, financial reports. P2, fire and evacuation drills. P3, JAG Athletic Trainer Professional Services Contract Award. P4, Shared Service Agreement for Communications, 23. P5, Shared Service Agreement for Communications, 2324. P6, Appropriation of Fund Balance, 2223. And P7, Registration Travel Agenda. Moving on now to our final public comment on any topic. No one. Okay. I'm now going to move on to R1, the consent vote. Can I get a motion? Beth, second. Mara?
Daphne Kendall,
Yes.
Betsy Baglia,
Yes.
Beth Baron,
Yes.
Jean Durbin,
Yes.
Mara Franceschi,
Yes.
Susan Cantor,
Yes.
Brian McDonald,
Yes.
Michelle Tuck Ponder,
Abstain.
Rob Christopher.
Yes.
Consent agenda passes.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. I just, before we end this meeting, I just wanted, this is Mr. Scarillo's last meeting with us. We're all very sad. You've been a calming presence and extremely nice, which is, I'm not used to that. But anyway, we have a gift for you on behalf of the board.
Don't open it.
We wish you the best of luck in Red Bank. Okay. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Jean, second. Mara, all in favor? Good night, everyone.